Your heart works every second of every day. Shouldn't your supplements work just as hard? Introducing 3 powerhouse cardio support products from Protocol for Life Balance. Nattokinase, drawn from a centuries-old Japanese tradition. This remarkable enzyme helps maintain healthy blood flow and normal blood fluidity. Circulation you can count on naturally. Next, ubiquinol. This is the active form of CoQ10 your body actually uses, fueling cellular energy production, neutralizing harmful free radicals, and delivering superior absorption. And finally, Clinical Cardio 6. 6 powerful nutrients, 1 capsule, including L-carnitine to energize your heart, hawthorn, and Mega Natural BP grapeseed extract for healthy blood pressure, and MK7 to keep your arteries flexible. Comprehensive cardiovascular support, all in one. Protocol for Life Balance, science-based professional-grade products using ingredients backed by strong research. To order, go to drhoffman.com/protocol for life balance. That's drhoffman.com/protocol for life balance. Protocol for Life Balance is an A-rated GMP manufacturer of premium dietary supplements. Welcome back to today's Intelligent Medicine Podcast. Everything you ever wanted to know about Urolithin A. The product is MitoPure, something that I take. Personally, I am enjoying, really, I just feel so grateful to have the energy that I have and to actually feel that in some activities, I'm not slowing down. I'm actually improving. I'm, spending a lot of time working out in the pool. I'm just banging out the workouts with, good times, with greater distance, and best of all, without that crash that you get, when you push the envelope and you're just not feeling it for a few days after with terrible muscle soreness and exhaustion. So, I think my mitochondria are working pretty well. And to some extent, I attribute that to my regular use of Urolithin A. It's part of an all-of-the-above approach. So the use case for this, who should be taking this?
Well, it's a bit of a loaded question because I
Yep.
think anyone who's got a mitochondria
Okay.
or a few trillion of them
Yep.
could benefit. But in all seriousness, where the bulk of the research sits right now is in sort of the muscle space, muscle aging,
Hmm.
athletic populations, at least through the oral. And there have been some interesting unlocks also in immune aging and topical use as well. So those are where the really like solid clinical data is. And then, when we start talking about preclinicals, there's just many more instances where there is a potential that we just, we don't know yet, but there's this great potential that it might benefit other areas as well.
So there's a big emphasis these days on muscle. We used to thought muscle was just kind of a vanity thing. We kind of looked askance at the narcissistic guys and gals who spent all their time in their gym and then oiled their body down for these bodybuilding competitions. But lately, we've discovered that muscles are just, more than just for muscle heads, that muscles have a great deal of influence on our overall health and well-being.
Yeah, well, I think there's a couple of things about that come to mind is, I mean, first of all, so our muscle strength, power, mass, all of that starts to decline as we get older. And that is muscle sort of loss as we get older, sarcopenia is, right? It's actually like a clinical diagnosis, and it's highly correlated to morbidity and mortality. And one of the things, that I think about very often, right, as we start to get older is this like ability to just even move around through the world and do our activities of daily living. And a big piece of that,
Frailty is sometimes the word.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly, is tied to the health of your muscles. But also to your point, we are nothing in the body lives in isolation, right? So like what is happening in the muscles, is also having this like crosswalk to other areas of the body as well. And so, the muscles send out communicators. They're part of the immune system. They're part of your glucose metabolism. It's like, they're just everything so intermixed. So the health of your muscles has to go beyond just how does it look for gym bros? And that's part of why it's become this, big conversation, in women's health and men's health, as we're aging, it's just become this really big conversation.
Yeah, I mean, I think the way we looked at exercise in the 70s and 80s, there was a running revolution, and I think there was a real emphasis on aerobic exercise. And it was only the outliers, like pioneers like Arnold Schwarzenegger, who kind of did the other thing and built, muscle mass. But now I think there's been a switch where, yeah, aerobic exercise is very important, but you want to mix. And there, some of the biggest advocates of strength training, a lot of the influencers have signed on to Urolithin A as kind of an accompaniment. The things that they like are resistance exercise. I think they're all in agreement that creatine is helpful, and I use creatine, and I advocate creatine, but also they're now signing on to Urolithin A as part of that overall program.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think one of the reasons that it's become so sort of, like, in a good way, like a lot of, physicians, influencers, longevity experts are getting excited about it is because of this great clinical data that we have on muscle strength, muscle endurance, even in the absence of exercise. There's also this great data that in athletic populations, it can help to support the health of the muscle and, all coming down to that mitochondrial health. So, and then to your point, it's not just in like clinical data, people are actually feeling it and
Yeah.
noticing it in their lives, right? If it's not impacting you, who cares what happened in a study? And so I think that's the beauty is that lots and lots and lots of people are
Hmm.
noticing that they are. I think the thing I hear consistently, and I notice myself, is like not feeling sore after the
Yeah.
gym. Um,
Less of
you know,
that. Hmm.
yeah, much less of that. Definitely noticing strength improvements, without having necessarily changed your workout routine that much, and just sort of feeling all around just more energy. Those are things that we consistently hear.
Hmm. Which actually sometimes paradoxically it translates to better sleep quality, deeper sleep, I think. Because sleep, we tend to think of it as like we turn off our computers and then they don't use as much juice. But actually, sleep requires a lot of energy to go into that deep restorative sleep that's so important for overall health. And people who, there are a lot of people who have chronic fatigue syndrome. And one of the hallmarks of that is they don't get good, restful, restorative sleep.
Yeah. Yeah, and not only is sleep like it's restful, restorative, but that's also when a lot of the body's repair processes are happening as
Hmm.
well. So there is, your brain is at rest and your, muscles are sort of at rest, but your body is certainly not fully at rest. It's at work, kind of cleaning things up and helping you recover.
Indeed. Are there implications of this, as a woman, for midlife challenges that women may experience, menopausal issues, because I think there's more to it than just the hormones dropping for women because, you can give women hormone replacement therapy at midlife, but it's not enough to overcome some of the drag that women experience in their 40s and 50s and 60s. So, is there something else going on besides just your hormones are checking out?
Absolutely. I mean, hormones are a key part of it. And there's also this, what I'm starting to learn a lot about is this interrelationship between like mitochondrial health and estrogen as well. So
Hmm.
there are estrogen receptors on your mitochondria that are playing a role in how the mitochondria work, but also interestingly, the first site of sex hormones synthesis is actually happening in like so this conversion from cholesterol to pregnenolone is actually happening inside the mitochondria.
Hmm.
So they're
It's a high
very,
energy process. That makes sense. Yeah.
correct. So they're very intertwined. And what's happening is not only are, we're sort of like blaming right now, like the conversation of menopause has become very, very mainstream, thank goodness. But I think everything is being sort of blamed on this drop of estrogen and progesterone. But women are aging sort of, outside of just that. And so mitochondrial decline is happening. I think we feel it more acutely because that's paired with the loss of our hormones. And where we start to notice that is in things like muscle, is things in, our skin, we start to notice it. We start to notice it in, brain fog and our ability to focus and remember things. So there's a lot, I think, that urolithin A can help there. And the interesting thing is a lot of clinical studies are not done in women. They're done, historically in men. And the studies that we've done on mitopure urolithin A are done both in men and women. And in
Hmm.
fact, it was something like 60% in one of our studies were women. I think the other one might have even been 70% were women. So we know that it's actually going to work in these midlife women and older women as well. And that's really important.
Indeed. Where I think there's a lot of potential for this kind of treatment is for neurodegenerative diseases because we know that the brain, while it occupies only I think the statistic is just 2% of your body mass or body weight. It consumes 20% of your energy budget. And so the brain is chock full of mitochondria. And there's now this theory of brain energy, that a lot of brain ailments, whether it's psychiatric ailments, anxiety, depression, obsessive compulsive disorder, schizophrenia, you name it, certainly attention deficit disorder, potentially autism, and then, the endpoint diseases like Alzheimer's disease and Parkinson's disease, they may be energetic diseases, and they may be mitochondrial in at least in part. So is there any emphasis on examining those applications?
Yeah, so there is some amazing preclinical data. So in mouse models and other rodent models, in everything you just said there, from neurodegenerative diseases to, psychiatric conditions. The Buck Institute of Aging is actually studying it right now for things like Alzheimer's and Parkinson's. We're starting to look at it more in just sort of like cognitive aging, just sort of more, healthy brain aging rather than in like a disease state. So my hope is in the next year, in 2027 or 2028, we will actually have some good, solid clinical evidence on, how much, how long, what are some of
Hmm.
the things that we're starting to notice. What I've seen, the last interesting research that I read specifically, I want to say on Alzheimer's in these mouse models, though, was that it actually seemed to have the best benefit in sort of the early cognitive decline than in people who, or the mice that had sort of this advanced disease. So I think that's also really interesting as, we're thinking about just how do we age better and when's the opportunity to start using things like urolithin A. Earlier intervention is probably more powerful than, when there's advanced disease,
Exactly. When
much more
there's,
hard to
you know,
treat.
the fibrillary tangles and tau protein in the brain,
Exactly.
that it's hard to reverse that. Um, so what can people expect when they take this? I mean, because, some people might think, well, I took it for a couple of days. I didn't feel anything.
Yeah.
If I go to Starbucks and I get a, double mocha latte with whatever, I didn't even know how to order there anymore because I just order, a black cafe Americano when I order coffee, and it's usually decaf. But what are you going to get a jolt when you take this? Or you have to not take it before bedtime?
Well, when things are happening sort of on this like cellular repair process, it's not an overnight success.
Mhm.
So this is not something you're going to take and feel tomorrow. And I think that's important, especially when people are looking for quick fixes. When you're working at the foundation, it takes a little bit more time. So I like to kind of start first with what our clinical data shows, and then just what I've sort of heard from working with lots of, physicians that are using it in their practice and just from lots of our consumers. So we know at the 1 month mark, we've done muscle biopsy studies, and we know that there's a significant turnover in mitochondrial health that's happening by the 1 month mark. But for that to translate into something you might feel and
Mhm.
see, it's going to take a little bit longer. So I would say at least 2 to 4 months, 4 months probably being that sweet spot. It's also not obvious for everyone. Like depending on how sort of in tune with their workouts, in tune with their bodies people
Mhm.
feel. I call it like a subtle energy. Like
Yeah.
I almost didn't notice until someone was like, I hadn't seen it in a few months. I was like, how are you doing? How are you feeling? And I was like, I actually feel really good now that we're
Yeah.
having this conversation. Like I felt really great the past couple of months. I'm not
Yeah.
crashing and burning at 3 o'clock. So it's not like a caffeinated beverage that
Mhm.
you are going to feel instantaneously, but you're also then not going to crash like you would with a caffeinated beverage.
Okay, folks, at this point, let's pause and allow one of our sponsors an opportunity to share an important message with you. So here goes. Listen up. Your heart works every second of every day. Shouldn't your supplements work just as hard? Introducing 3 powerhouse cardio support products from Protocol for Life Balance. Nattokinase, drawn from a centuries-old Japanese tradition. This remarkable enzyme helps maintain healthy blood flow and normal blood fluidity. Circulation you can count on naturally. Next, ubiquinol. This is the active form of CoQ10 your body actually uses, fueling cellular energy production, neutralizing harmful free radicals, and delivering superior absorption. And finally, Clinical Cardio 6. 6 powerful nutrients, 1 capsule, including L-carnitine to energize your heart, hawthorn, and mega natural BP grapeseed extract for healthy blood pressure, and MK7 to keep your arteries flexible. Comprehensive cardiovascular support, all in one. Protocol for Life Balance, science-based professional-grade products using ingredients backed by strong research. To order, go to drhoffman.com/protocol for life balance. That's drhoffman.com/protocol for life balance. Protocol for Life Balance is an A-rated GMP manufacturer of premium dietary supplements.
Kids don't just bring home homework, they bring home germs. And those germs don't just stay with them, they spread to the whole household. That's why Clear Nasal Spray was created by a practicing physician to give parents and grandparents peace of mind. You may not think about it, but your nose is filtering out a semi-truck full of air every single day. Clear isn't just another spray. It creates an additional layer of protection in your nose that blocks bacteria and viruses before they can even take hold. Yes, even that virus. Supporting your body's defenses right where germs first try to enter. Clear is a hygiene product recommended for daily use, drug-free, non-drowsy, and safe for all ages. Just a quick spray in the morning and evening helps you cleanse your nose. Don't just hope for protection, create it. Get Clear Nasal Spray, your daily defense. Clear Nasal Spray is available at retailers nationwide and online. Check out Xlear.com for our special offers. That's Xlear.com.
Thanks for listening, and thanks for supporting our sponsors, because they are what make Intelligent Medicine a continuing free resource to you. And now, back to today's guest, Jen Scheinman, who's Director of Science Communications at Timeline. I think that the way that it manifests for me is when I do hard things, like I'll say, in the pool, instead of doing, 60 laps, I say, well, today I'm going to do 80 laps. That's when you see the edge emerging, or when I'm doing like a really hard mental task, like, I'm writing, an article for the newsletter, and I'm really having to focus and concentrate, and the ideas are coming, more in a more fluid way, and I'm not having writer's block. But I think if you're just sitting around and doom scrolling, you might not notice, how much energy does that take? It really doesn't challenge your brain or your body.
Yeah, but I do think though that people who are just, even if they're not exercising or, they're still sort of existing in this world and they're still working and they still are sort of crashing at 3, or they come home from work and they're exhausted. And that's where it's sort of that subtle shift where you're like, oh, I just sort of feel like myself again. That's sort of the best way to put it, is just not feeling good again.
Yeah, no, so
yeah.
and I appreciate that point. Okay. So when I last spoke to, who's your lead researcher? Because we've interviewed him on here, and he's excellent.
Yeah, Dr. Anurag Singh is our chief medical officer.
The chief medical officer who resides now in Lausanne, but I think he's a Canadian guy, right?
That's Brad. He's actually one of our, so Brad is one of our lead researchers as well. He's really got this amazing background in muscle physiology. And then Dr. Singh, but they both lived, Dr. Singh's from India.
And I spoke to Dr. Singh as well. Yeah. So what he shared with us is that there's some really interesting implications of urolithin A supplementation for immune health. Now, explain how that could possibly be. I mean, who saw that coming?
Yeah, well, if you looked at the mitochondria, you would actually have thought about that, because the immune system is highly energetically demanding, right? To constantly be on surveillance, to fight pathogens, to make sure that our, everything in our body is protected. It's constantly using energy. And I think one of the things that's really interesting is that people aren't really thinking about the immune system as an aging organ. We think about it more about just like seasonal colds and flus, and we need to support our immune system, when it becomes winter or fall. But the immune system, as we get older, inflammation, this chronic inflammation, part of that is immune dysfunction and immune dysregulation. The immune system basically starts to get exhausted.
So I think what you're saying is that it's not just a matter of, are you susceptible to colds, or worse yet, are you susceptible to cancer? Your surveillance is down, but it could also be a dysregulation where you actually are more prone to autoimmune diseases and inflammation, where it's like immune system out of control, poor regulation of your immune system. On the one hand, it's too unresponsive to invaders. And on the other hand, it's, off to the races inappropriately. So that's an immune dysregulation.
Exactly. And so by what this latest research that Dr. Singh this was published, I want to say in October of 2025, what we looked at, it was different types of immune cells, but also how were they doing energetically? And by using urolithin A, and this study was with 1,000 milligrams, so that's sort of double the dose that comes in your gummy package. It was almost this rewiring to a more youthful immune state where there were more of these early responding immune cells that tend to decline with age, but then also there was more energy that was coming out in these immune cells. They were more energetically healthy and efficient as well.
Okay. Well, I think that's very exciting. So that needs to be explored in terms of the clinical implications downstream. Are people getting less sick? If they experience challenging illnesses, is the duration and severity of these illnesses less in people who are fortified with this? Are they, potentially, could there be implications for cancer recovery? And also for, conversely, for inflammatory markers, you can measure them readily, interleukins and C-reactive protein, yada, yada, we can check those out. And we can see, are people, who experience autoimmune conditions, is this ameliorating them in some way? So, yeah, it's exciting. Okay, so
I was just going to say, we do see consistently across the board in all of our muscle studies too, that are things like C-reactive protein come down, and these sort of immune or inflammatory markers, I should say, do come down. So, but yeah, right. What the next thing we're studying is, does it mean less colds? Is there any sort of indication for, helping with cancer treatment or anything like that?
Amazing. Okay. So, and this may seem frivolous, but a great deal of importance is placed on our external appearance. Mm-hmm. And there's a whole line of research that suggests that topical application of urolithin A can be good for the skin. And it's enough to have one of the biggest cosmeceutical companies in the world to have an interest in this ingredient, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So we have a strategic partnership with L'Oreal, and Lancome just this past spring released a product line. We also have a product line that features MitoPure. And, the skin is absolutely aesthetic, and how, you're right, it shouldn't be frivolous, right? Because how you look is so much part of your self-esteem and how you present to the world. But just like we sort of talked before about the muscle, and that used to be sort of just like an aesthetic thing for gym bros, and now we know the muscle is so important for aging. I mean, the skin is an organ and it has a function. It's also part of the immune system. It protects you. If inflammation is happening in the skin, it's happening likely other places. It's the first place we see aging. So I think we need to think about the skin as much more an organ of health and longevity than just about how you look.
So I got a question during my radio show about something called festoons.
Okay.
Do you know what those are?
No.
Okay, I didn't. And I got to say, having studied medicine and physiology for, 40, 50 years, I'd never heard that term. It's a fancy medical term for bags under your eyes, festoons.
Ah, okay.
So I said, there's some evidence that, among the things I suggested, I said, hey, there's some evidence that, you could get some skin tightening effects with products from Timeline. Do you have an under eye product?
We do have an under eye product, more for sort of fine lines and wrinkles than festoons or some of that other sort of skin issues that might show up. But what we've seen with the topical urolithin A is that, and we have eye creams, we have face creams, washes, we have several different products, is that we're getting sort of that cellular renewal that's happening, that mitophagy is happening on the in the skin cells. And then what that's translating to is, all the genes that are regulating collagen assembly and organization, they're working better. So we're also seeing that the skin is more resilient to the damaging effects of the sun. So I wouldn't call it a sun block, but it's helping to resolve all of this like inflammation and redness that happens after we have sun exposure. And then ultimately, it's just a reduction in fine lines and wrinkles.
Yeah, I think one way to look at the skin is that we're sort of fighting a losing battle against the deterioration of collagen in our skin. And collagen is a protein, and it's a protein that breaks down, and there's a constant repair process. But ultimately, people with diabetes, for example, they have accelerated skin aging. People with medical conditions, I mean, I think everybody knows anecdotally, you look at someone, they look terrible. and
Yeah.
it's reflected in the skin. It's because it's an external manifestation of what's happening internally. And so if you can revive both by taking this urolithin A internally, because I think that that's, from the inside out, but also you can amplify that by applying urolithin from the outside in. So you have the under eye products, you have like a night cream, you have
Yep. We've got sort of two different thicknesses of cream. One is like a thicker, more like a night cream. One is a little bit more, we call it our dewy cream. It's much more lighter for day. And then we had just launched, maybe about a year ago, we launched this really nice face wash and a very gentle topical exfoliator as well. And all of those products have urolithin A in them as well. So it sort of depends on, what you're looking to replace or what you're looking to do. I think a nice place to start is either, I think I didn't mention the serum. That's usually the place most people start because
right.
you can use it with anything else you might already have in your sort of beauty cabinet, if you have one of those.
That's more important. That's more, that's more concentrated, the serum.
It's not more concentrated. It's just if you're like, some people have like a skin line that they already love and they don't want to
Mhm.
break up with like their moisturizer. So the
Okay.
serum you could use in conjunction with that. So
Okay.
not more powerful. They all have the same amount of urolithin A. It's just more accessible based on what other people might be doing.
That could just
If
sort
you
of
don't have
draft
a full,
onto what you're already using.
yeah,
Okay.
exactly. If you don't have a line that you love, then I do think our dewy cream is like one of my favorite things. The exfoliator also is really nice and unique because it's this gentle exfoliator. So you get this really beautiful, nice glow, but then you also get the urolithin A getting into the skin and helping to support the collagen, as you mentioned, and that sort of damage from the sun.
Your skin looks great. I mean, are
Thank
you
you.
a user of
I
these products?
I am a user of both the oral and the supplement, and
Right.
just a little sort of, as you had mentioned, the oral. So we have is, if you're looking for the skin benefits, that's where you need to use the skin topical.
Okay.
But if you're sort of looking for the holistic benefit, then that's where the oral comes in because the topical is not really penetrating like into the blood, and you're not going to start seeing muscle strength from the topical. You're also probably not going to see wrinkle reduction from the oral. So I think there's a great case to use them both together or just whatever your personal goal is.
I'm terrible with these skin things because as a guy, I'm just sort of not cognizant of it, which is not, there's no machismo about it. It's just that, just a guy thing. You can't be bothered. I shave, and that's about it. And if I were to use one thing, advice to lazy men like me, what would be the product?
I'd say either the dewy cream or the barrier cream, depending on just how dry your skin is. Like if you
Okay.
tend to have really dry skin, that barrier cream is a
Mhm.
thicker one. If you're, especially we're going into summer and you don't want sort of this hot, it's hot and humid and you don't want something thick, then the dewy cream, because that will have the urolithin A in it. It also has just some other important actives like niacinamide and trehalose, which are supporting skin health as well. So one of the creams, depending on how thick you like it, is probably the simplest way to go for anyone who's just lazy.
And niacinamide is an intriguing vitamin because actually there are now some studies showing that taking niacinamide orally
Mhm.
can reduce the prevalence of skin cancers, not melanoma. That's an exception. Melanoma has no impact on, but the skin cancers that are less deadly, that cause people to be sliced and diced all the time and biopsied, which are basal cell cancers and squamous cell cancers, there's a significant double-digit reduction with niacinamide. So I like niacinamide as a topical application as well.
Yeah.
I think there's some plausibility for it to really have an impact on skin. So, wow, congratulations on your success. I mean, you really have joined forces with a great company that I think is just doing it the right way, through legitimate scientific research and not outlandish claims.
Yep.
You're enjoying a lot of success because I think a lot of important influencers, and I think I'm someone who has an audience, are convinced that urolithin A has great potential for prevention and healing. So great stuff. So let me just mention a special offer to our Intelligent Medicine listeners. For more information to order, just go to timeline.com/Hoffman and use the coupon code Hoffman at checkout. You'll get 20% off with coupon code Hoffman at checkout at timeline.com/Hoffman. And check out the gummies. the MitoPure gummies, which are, I think a good starting point for people to start utilizing this product. There's, you can find everything on their website, which is timeline.com. Is that correct?
Got it. Yep.
Okay, but not for the special offer, because we've got a special offer. Great stuff. And did we miss anything? Did we leave anything on the cutting room floor here?
No, I think you got it. I think we covered all the important areas like immune and muscle and skin, and just sort of staying tuned for the exciting new things that'll be coming, brain, and just more outcomes with immune in the next couple of years.
Well, great. I look forward to future conversations with you and the experts at Timeline, because it's a moving picture, and continuously there's new research that's revealing the potential for this exciting compound. So great stuff. Thank you so much, Jane Scheinman.
Thanks for having me.
I'm Dr. Ronald Hoffman, and this is the Intelligent Medicine Podcast. I want to thank you for listening to the Intelligent Medicine Podcast. Follow us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music, or your favorite podcast app, and get new episodes automatically downloaded every weekday. And please give us a rating and review. It truly helps new people discover intelligent medicine. The Intelligent Medicine Podcast is for general informational purposes only and does not constitute the practice of medicine, nursing, or other professional healthcare services, including the giving of medical advice, and no doctor-patient relationship is formed. The use of information on this podcast or materials linked from this podcast is at the user's own risk. The content of this podcast is not intended to be a substitute for professional medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. Users should not disregard or delay in obtaining medical advice for any medical condition they may have, and should seek the assistance of their healthcare professionals for any such conditions. Finally, please visit drhoffman.com and discover everything Intelligent Medicine has to offer, including frequently updated, unbiased health news and fully vetted product and supplement recommendations. You're listening to Intelligent Medicine, a resource to help you take control of your health. We offer a balanced, objective analysis of all your health, wellness, and aging options, both conventional and alternative. Now you can take your engagement to the next level by joining FullScript. FullScript is my online dispensing platform that only offers curated, professional-grade supplement brands that I know and trust. Never counterfeit or expired, always stored and shipped correctly. Just go to drhoffmanstore.com for more information and to start your free FullScript account. Buying through FullScript offers fast, free shipping, optional refill reminders, a mobile-friendly site. It's safe, secure, and HIPAA compliant, and offers world-class support. Just go to drhoffmanstore.com. You'll get access to the supplements and features you need to help you achieve your wellness goals, including my custom targeted protocols that combine the products I recommend to address specific needs, heart health, immune support, and much more. It's all at drhoffmanstore.com. drhoffmanstore.com.